All right, negotiations continuing today on this year's budget, but no agreement yet. President Obama met this morning with House Speaker John Boehner, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, and the heads of the House and the Senate Appropriations Committee. So it was a pretty big meeting. The president saying if there's no progress tonight, he'll want them back tomorrow. Meanwhile, House Republicans prepared a new stopgap measure that would slash $12 billion from current spending and keep the government operating until April 15th. That would buy time for more talks and avoid a government shutdown this Friday. Republicans say the deal would have to include deeper cuts than the $33 billion worth that Democrats are offering. That's for the rest of the year. Joining us now is Joe Walsh, Republican congressman from Illinois, who is a Tea Party supporter in that side of the party. Thanks so much for joining us, Congressman. Let me ask you, first of all, every time I hear about this, I think the numbers are so minuscule compared to what we really want to see, or what you really want to see in your end of the party here. 33 billion, 61 billion. It's all too little. Can you go back to Illinois having done only that?
Well, no, you're right. When you talk about, we set a world record in February, adding $225 billion to our deficit. We're going to run up about a $1.6 trillion deficit this year. And here we are in Washington squabbling about $33 or $61 billion. Look, the speaker put in front of the president this morning another effort at keeping this government funding, $12 billion in cuts for the next week. You're telling me with a $1.6 trillion deficit this year, we can't find $12 billion to cut? I don't think the president's serious, and I don't think the Democrats are serious, but I think the American people are, and they want us to be bold.
Congressman Walsh, how far are you willing to go? Are you willing to risk a government shutdown if you don't get the cuts that you think are necessary?
Gosh, I hope we don't get there. I'm willing to risk a showdown. I think we need a showdown to avoid a shutdown. Look, I think the American people sent us here to be bold. The Republicans...
Wait. You're kind of mincing words here. I mean, are you willing to go as far as a shutdown, though, if that's what's needed to get your point across, to get the cuts that you think that you deem are necessary?
Here's what we need to do. Right now, our kids and our grandkids, their futures are going to be taken away from them unless we dramatically change the fiscal path we're on. Do the Republicans want to shut down? Heck no. We've had a continuing resolution, guys, out there for 40-some days. We put it out there again last Friday, $61 billion in cuts. We have, to this point, never gotten a response from the Democrats. I think the Democrats have lost this argument. They've lost the substance of this argument. Their only play right now is a PR play. They're hoping for a shutdown because they want to make the Republicans look like the bad guys. I think the American people have seen through that.
But if it comes to a shutdown, will that be, you don't want a shutdown? Nobody wants a government shutdown, really, but is that the kind of thing that we can handle, that we should be prepared for?
Look, again, we need to dramatically change the fiscal path we're on, because we're on a path that's going to bankrupt your kids and my grandkids. If it takes a shutdown to get the other side serious and wake up the country, then that's a good thing. We don't want to have to get there. And I would really argue that most of the American people are beyond us on this. They want us to be serious.
Congressman Walsh, you know what? I'm listening to you, and I think, we could go back 30 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't know. I feel like we had this debate constantly. We've had folks here on Street Smart who say it's all about spending. We've got to cut back on spending. But when it comes down to it, nobody wants to go back down to their home state and say, I had to give up these programs, I had to give up this. Nobody wants to do it, whether it's Republicans or Democrats or independents or Tea Party candidates. I mean, what says to you that there are folks that are ready to really do something about the problem here?
I would argue that this is a much different day, and a freshman like me would not be standing in front of you unless the American people got it. Look, I said every day of my campaign, and I've said since I've been elected, my job is not to go to Washington and increase what Washington brings back to my home district. I want to limit what Washington takes from my constituents. This is a much different day. The American people know that we got to talk about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Those used to be the third rails of politics. I don't think that's the case anymore. Paul Ryan put out a budget today that's going to entail real Medicare and Medicaid reform. I think the American people, seniors, baby boomers, young people, we're all ready for that now.
Congressman Walsh, Paul Ryan laying out, I should say, the GOP path to prosperity. That's what he called it in a Wall Street Journal op-ed today. Is it the path to prosperity in your view?
You know, it's a heck of a start. The phrase that that keeps running through my head is, finally an adult enters the room. We are on a path right now that's going to bankrupt our kids and our grandkids. Our president knows that. The principal drivers on this path are Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. We need to fundamentally reform these entitlements or they won't be there for our kids. To not do anything is cruel. And the president, you know, shame on him. He puts forth a budget a month and a half ago, guys, and he doesn't even mention these programs. This is a vision that Paul Ryan put forth today that will go a long way toward changing these programs, saving them for future generations, and getting the government off of our backs so that the American people can grow again.
You know, I woke up, though, this morning combing every news story I could find for some sort of reform of Social Security. It doesn't really seem to be there, and even the reform of Medicare is only for people, I think, under 55. Are any politicians going to have kind of the gall to go out there and say, we need to reform Social Security, we need to reform Medicare, and we're talking about for people who are currently retired right now, this has to happen, it's going to hurt, but we got to take the pain. Is there anyone who can do that?
Let me raise my hand and do it. We need to reform Social Security. We need to raise the retirement age. We need to look at means testing. There are a number of things we need to do. Medicare. Look, again, Paul Ryan has taken an enormous first step. But I'm with you. The baby boomers are just starting to retire. We need to balance this budget as soon as we can, so we need to look toward everybody having some skin in this game.
Well,
and that
Congressman
means
Walsh,
folks over the age of 55.
But what about those under 55? I mean, some would say they could go out and get another job. I mean, where are you? How far are you willing to go when it comes to things like Social Security?
Here's the deal. Unless we do something to dramatically reform both Medicare and Social Security, the only way my 16-year-old son will be able to support these programs in 40 years is if he's paying 90 cents out of every dollar to the government. None of us want that kind of society.
So what's the most dramatic move you think we should make on Social Security right now? And be specific if you could, because nobody seems to be specific.
I think we need to raise the retirement age immediately. I think we need to look at means testing Social Security benefits for wealthier Americans. There, I said it. I may get zapped by lightning. And we need to look at reforms for my generation and my kids' generation to begin letting us privately save for our own retirements. We all have to put something on that table. And again, I'd argue that seniors and baby boomers are ready to give something on this.
Let me ask you about tax reform, because that's something that's talked about a lot in Washington, but it's really your gravy train. That's how you pay for your campaigns. It seems to be someplace that nobody's really going to go seriously. Do you think we need to see that? Loopholes and flat tax?
Absolutely. We need a flat tax tomorrow. We need to simplify the code and get rid of the loopholes, and we need to lower taxes. You know, we live under this paradigm here in Washington where everybody says you have to raise taxes to increase government revenues. We know, you guys know, that when we cut taxes over time, we increase government revenues. We need to abolish the estate tax. Our corporate tax is embarrassingly high compared to the rest of the world. There's a lot we need to do on taxes to grow the economy, which will lead to more government revenues.
And we'll see if anybody has the guts to make the necessary moves. Congressman Walsh, thank you so much. We appreciate your time this afternoon.
All right.
Thank you both.